Bum bum bum, literature gets a look. Legs talk about books. Hello and welcome to Legs Talk About Butts, the monthly fornication podcast where we talk about butts. I'm your host, Hardleg Joe. Joining me today, the master of linear time, Bard Breaker.
Excuse me, you got that wrong. It's butt breaker.
Why didn't I think about that? I was sitting here the whole time trying to think of how I could make my name more of a pun without just emphasizing the hard. No, it's butt breaker. And yes, if you haven't noticed, this episode is coming out on April 1st. Maybe you're not seeing it on the day, but that means we're doing something a little silly this time. Last month around this time, me and Breaker read Empress Teresa, which was a very strange book. A lot of people had heard about it, not many people had read it. And this year we're doing kind of the same thing. We're reading the books of Dr. Chuck Tingle. And if you're not familiar with that name, I implore you to take a moment, go to Google image search, look up Chuck Tingle, and just see some of the titles and covers that come
just
up.
Make sure you're not at work for that one.
I don't think anything he has would be, like, not safe for work. It's mostly just, like, shirtless guys.
And dinosaurs, and I don't know, I mean, if I wasn't the boss at work and I walked by an employee looking at that, I'd be questioning what they were doing.
That is a good point. I remember I ordered the physical books. I'm holding them in my hand. And when I ordered them, I was like, that's fine. Everyone knows it's just a joke. It's for work. And then they arrived, and I'm like, I really don't want my parents to see these on my shelf. I really don't want to have to ever explain this, because they're you know, if you've seen it, you understand. But yeah, this is a guy who is mostly known for his crazy off-the-wall cover art, which I remember seeing these like a year and a half ago and not thinking they could possibly be real. I'm not sure, have you heard of Chuck Tingle before this, or seen any of these?
I'm pretty sure we had gone over it in the past, like several years ago, back when you were like, Basement Leg Joe. Like, I'm pretty sure we'd gone over that before.
Yeah, he's got a couple famous ones. I think Pounded in the Butt by My Own Butt is the most notable one, with just the absurdity. And of course, the original title to Space Raptor Butt Invasion, known for the dreamy look in that guy's eye. I'm not sure if you've seen that one.
I have not made a point to look up most of the covers.
This one in particular, I've seen this one several times. I'm gonna post it here. Joe, put it up on the screen for those who are watching on YouTube. If you're not, you just have to... Something about that look in his eye and just the Raptor excitedly riding a Segway in an astronaut outfit.
But how's that Raptor breathing in space?
There's no air in space.
There's an Air and Space Museum.
That's
the highlight of the video, folks. That's the best of our humor right there.
That's what we got.
It's not even ours. We stole it from The Simpsons.
Yep. So anyway, the point is, I've seen these titles before. I didn't even know they were real books until like this year, and I thought, why not take a look at them, see what the fuck these are about? Because I don't know anyone who's ever read these. And if you're unfamiliar with the show, I imagine this might get more people than normal. Normally what we do is we take a moment, we give our spoiler-free thoughts first, sort of recommendations, what we thought of the book, if we think other people would like it, and then we get into the discussion, where we just assume you've either read it or you're not going to read it. And starting with the spoiler-free thoughts... Normally I would throw it over to my co-host, but I feel like I need to make a point first of all. If you're going into this, you should know that these are explicit pornography. These are very, very lewd. Like, I went into this looking at the thumbnails and looking at the titles and everything. I thought this would be like goofy, almost PG-13 kind of sex. Like, I thought it would be handled in an almost like juvenile way. I was imagining like, and then we did it, boning so hard the earth quaked from our lust. We made love like two eagles falling out of the sky, pounding butts long into the night and well into the morning. Truly it was a sex. Like, that's what I thought it would be. And no, it's just like every story is 12 pages long. and 3 pages of that is like a detailed gay sex scene.
Pretty much.
And it's, so yeah, if you're not interested in reading about cocks going into assholes, you may want to turn around now.
Well, there goes your monetization.
Yeah, it was inevitable. I would be surprised. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get a thumbnail up that doesn't show enough. Maybe it's the Space Raptor butt trilogy might work. There's only 1 nipple on that.
Male nipples are fine, though.
I don't think YouTube's algorithm can tell the difference.
Huh.
I'm not certain, though. I think it might just look for, like, common flesh tones, and if there's too much, like you put a baby on there, they're just going to be like, nope, that's probably nudity. I don't trust it.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens, because, I still have my video demonetized. It has nothing inappropriate in it, so we'll see if this video keeps its monetization going.
Yeah, we'll see. If nothing else, again, you can find this podcast on iTunes, on Spotify. We have our own RSS feed. You can find all that in the description. So if this gets suppressed, there's a lot of other ways that you can listen to it. I'm probably going to like age gate it. I don't know. I think we could do this fairly. Well, I was gonna say I think we could do this fairly child free, but I already said a bunch of bad things.
Yeah, I think you've already gone past that point. So
we'll see.
Yeah,
maybe I could censor it. But yeah, that aside, as for the actual stories, like the non-sex parts, I found they were pretty interesting. They were written well enough. Like they're super short, but Chuck actually manages to do quite a bit of characterization in that short amount of time. And some of his stories have like unique enough premises that they actually kind of make you think just a little bit, which is more than I would have expected from something like this. And, like, even though there's a few spelling mistakes, they aren't written badly. Like, these weren't a slog to get through like Empress Teresa was. Like, I could understand what was going on. He knows at least a little bit about language. I would actually say this is on par with, like, The Ables, which I'm not sure is a credit to Chuck or a discredit to the guy who wrote The Ables. But, yeah, like, I feel like this is on par with that. It might be a little better because the exposition flows much more smoothly. You don't really have any scenes of, like, people sitting down and explaining stuff in detail.
I guess you're technically right. I mean,
the best kind of right.
You do have plenty of explicit, like, sitting on things and explaining details.
True. And yeah, I guess I should say, like, as for the sex scenes, didn't really get anything out of them, but then again, I'm not really all that gay. Dan's opinion perhaps holds a little bit of weight here. What did you think of the lewd scenes?
So I have not quite read many romance books. As the store I work at sells many books, we have a big romance section. I will periodically flip open a book just to see the random bullshit that romance writers write.
But you're not an aficionado of, like,
I'm not an aficionado.
Fiction.
I like to read out of context pages, just pick to a random page, and I was like, all right, how bad is this book? And it was like, that was sort of like, I expected just what it was, and I went into this, and it was just, I don't know, I just found every story was the exact same. It was like 3 pages of the same expositionary, like, setup, and then 3 pages of sex, and then just, like,
and then a closing statement.
Literally like a closing, like 2 sentences, if that, and then it's just like next book, same exact thing.
Yeah, as far as the formula for his stories, they all do follow that exact formula, and sometimes it doesn't even seem like it should work. I mean, Space Raptor, but what is it? Redemption, the second one, is like a courtroom drama that doesn't feel like it should have a sex scene in it. But nope! I mean, I guess we don't want to get to spoilers, but yeah, every single story has although, I should note, he has a collection of stories that specifically don't have any sex in them.
Huh.
He has I remember reading one of them. Let me see if I can find this 1 second.
I guess while you're looking for that, I guess I could answer the question you asked was, did the sex do anything for me? And I don't know, it was just I don't know if Chuck Tingle has ever had sex, or if just like
he read about it once.
He watched porn and he saw like one blowjob where the actor was like drooling and just put that in every scene and just thought that's how they work. I don't know. There's something there to tingle you, that's for sure. But I just,
it's weird. I was thinking about this actually driving home, and I was like, for what reason could he possibly add these like explicit sex scenes? Because clearly, like, it goes on too far to be funny. It's not like played up for laughs. It's like too serious to be played for laughs. But I don't think anyone is getting off on like Raptor on astronaut sex.
Well, wasn't that or maybe that was the one you didn't get. That might have been in my bonus story. In fact, I think it was pounded in my butt by linear time or something like that. There's a point where the character is actually like interacting with Chuck Tingle as the narrator, and I think he asks him that question. It's like, well, wait, did you get off writing this and reading this? And Chuck's just like, yes.
Huh. Interesting. Yeah, he does appear in the other. He appears in "Pounded in My Butt" by Sunday too, but he doesn't specifically say that. But yeah, I guess he must. I don't know. But my theory was some of these stories could potentially be taken as like a criticism of like gay culture or like mocking gays or whatever, if he didn't have the explicit sex in them. It's one of those things where like I don't think any far-right person is going to like this ironically when it has so much like explicit gay stuff in it. Like, I feel like it's almost a defense mechanism against people trying to like this ironically who aren't actually open-minded.
It's like, they get a couple of pages in, like, yeah, this is great. The anti-gay agenda. I can't wait to see that character slide down that enormous cock. Oh no, I'm going back to Parlor.
It's just going. Well, I forget who it was. I think it was, there's a YouTuber named Sarah Zed, and she talks a lot about, like, fan fiction and sort of fan fiction culture. And I remember she did a video talking specifically about the people who write these stories. They're like far-right people, but they write stories from the perspective of like left-wing people who are doing absurd things so that left-wing people look bad. Like there's always these stories like, well, I'm a young feminist and I went to McDonald's and some Nazi tried to make fun of me and I stood up and said no and the whole restaurant clapped. Like, it's supposed to be cringy, and it's supposed to make people think this is what the left-wing people actually believe. And she went down the rabbit hole of tracing the authors, and they're, like, all written by these far-right people who are just doing it as a way of sort of, like, projecting their thoughts onto the side they don't like. And so it's like, I think he's trying to purposely avoid that. Either that or, again, he just really likes things getting pounded in the butt.
Hey, I mean, I personally am not one of those gays, but there are those who just, yeah, that's their thing.
You know what? I'm not against the sodomy as it per se, but not really into the hunky guys. It's the hunky guys that don't do it for me. Also, I found the title I was looking for. Let me post this again, Joe. Gonna have to make you post something up on here. This is from his collection of stories that doesn't have sex. It's called Nice Guy Dinosaur Doesn't Pound Me in the Butt because I'm not interested and he's not actually nice. He's just annoying and creepy and doesn't respect my boundaries when I tell him we're not on a date.
God.
And you read the description and it's just about like, this guy wants to go to a gaming convention and this fedora-wearing Raptor gamer comes up with tickets and promises he's just doing it to be nice and that they're not on a date. But then at the end of the convention, he tries to pressure the hunky guy into sleeping with him. And Chuck specifically says in the description, like, because no one is ever owed sex, not even in a Chuck Tingle novel. And apparently he's written enough stories like that they have their own collection. And I'm really curious to read, if I ever read anything again, I think it will be that collection, because I've kind of had enough for a while. Maybe in another...
Maybe next April we'll follow up.
April. We'll see how well this episode goes or if other people... But yeah, I guess just overall thoughts. I'm not sad that I, like, read these. I'm not, like, disappointed or angry or anything. In fact, I actually have quite a lot of good things to say about these. despite how silly they are. There's like a spark of creativity and uniqueness that, like, as a writer, I can appreciate. But at the same time, yeah, it is repetitive. They're very short, and they're just too gay for me. I'm sorry. I try to be open-minded, but I can only take so many hunky guys getting pounded in the butt.
You know, you did know that was gay going into it.
I did.
We could have read, 50 Shades of Grey if you really wanted, like, straight sex.
I would rather read 800 Chuck Tingle books than read 50 Shades of Grey. But yeah, overall, like I said, obviously his stuff is not for everyone. But if you're even the slightest bit interested, it's so short and so cheap. Like, try one out, see what you like about it. That's what I would suggest. How about you, Bard? I haven't really let you speak. Go ahead, give your full thoughts on everything, and would you recommend this to anyone?
You sort of described it fairly well. Like, I will grant your assessment that there is some literary
prowess.
Yeah, prowess is all right. It's written by someone who at least knows how to put words together coherently into a story, whereas, like, Empress Teresa was written by, I think, a monkey with a typewriter. But they're just, I mean, half the story is just sex, and it's the same exact sex scene in every story.
Yeah.
And so you literally have just, like, 5 pages or so, 3 to 5 pages of not sex, if that. But I just felt like that was always the same dribble too, whereas it's like, oh, look at that character that I could never possibly be attracted to. Oh, let me then spend 3 paragraphs explaining why I'm suddenly attracted to them. Oh, now it's time for sex.
Da 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 da. Yeah, it's weird. It's kind of like, especially near the end, I was kind of scanning the pages to just be like, okay, is there any unique point near the end?
But there are elements to it, like the courtroom drama, as you call it, would have been interesting had it been more flushed out
I think the whole Space Raptor butt trilogy was, like, actually, it still followed the same thing, but it was more interesting.
Yeah, like there's a whole plot for, like, the dinosaurs, like how they exist, and, like, I guess they were sentient. They're just like the damn Star Trek dinosaurs from Star Trek Voyager, where it's like same dinosaurs. Oh, Chuck Tingle's in Star Trek now. There's the canon, I guess. Same dinosaur.
And there was a couple, like, if you're, I guess we never mentioned, but the combination of a pound a day keeps the butt okay. It's 7 stories where someone meets a physically manifested day of the week and then falls in love with them.
Which you got more out of the, like, metaphor or the, symmetry, or not symmetry, but imagery that he was going for with that, which you were like, oh, it's like the Fantastic Four is the 4 elements.
We'll get to that later. Also, you don't have to make me sound like an old man. But I was going to say,
I can't do a Hardleg voice. It's not on my voice wheel.
Even if you want to take it at face value, like, the way that Monday ended was kind of unique. The way that Sunday went about it was very interesting, I thought. Every day in between that, kind of the same thing, but I think Monday and Sunday have a little bit more substance to them.
Perhaps, yeah. I mean, you're not entirely wrong.
I guess we can get that into spoilers. Were there any other remarks you wanted to say before we go into spoiler territory?
No.
No? Okay.
We can get into the hardcore spoileries. Like,
yeah, so hardcore spoilers, if you haven't read this and you want to. Again, these are like $2 books, and they're like, the entire collection of 7 short stories is less than 100 pages long, and that includes a bonus story too. I had, what was it? England's ass is haunted by a hung parliament. They threw that in at the end, which actually had an interesting thing. I think you said you got a bonus story at the end of yours,
I had a bonus story at the end of both of mine. The Space Raptor one, I had, a T-Rex teaches me gayness or something like that, and my day of the week butt calendar thing had my butt getting reamed by linear time or something like that.
I kind of want to read that one, maybe someday. But yeah, either way, my point is, even with those bonus stories, these are, like, super short. You could read them in, like, an hour?
Not
Less
even
than
that.
an
I mean,
hour?
I sat and read the Space Raptor trilogy in like 20 minutes.
It's
Like,
37 pages.
yeah,
I've
I
had
mean,
instruction booklets for things that were longer than
yeah,
this.
the IKEA, manual to set up your bed frame was longer and took longer to read through.
Yeah, so if you're at all interested in getting the experience and knowing exactly what we're talking about, go check it out. But yeah, going into spoilers, Monday pounds me in the butt. A fairly standard Chuck Tingle story as far as the days of the week goes. A guy meets the physical manifestation of Monday, it pounds him in the butt, and then at the end, he decides that he can't be apart from Monday, and he's going to ask him to stay with him, even beyond Monday. And he does, and there's like a whole page of describing this like wind of time and this bright red light that tears him apart atom by atom as all of linear time unravels due to the fact that Monday decided to stop existing as Monday. It's like, well, I wasn't expecting that. I'll give them that.
Yeah, that was some acid he was on there, I guess.
I don't know. It's what's unique is that like I've seen stories of like things exploding before, and I've seen stories of like time unraveling, and I've never quite had it explained kind of like that. It reminds me of Stephen King's The Langoliers, if you've ever seen that movie.
I have seen that movie. It was fun fact. I could not think of what that movie was called for years because I remember seeing it when I was younger, and I was just like, "This is a movie. I saw it on TV in the middle of the night. There was like these little demon balls that fly through space and like eat the ground and like
they eat time.
They eat. It's like the universe just like they eat it, and
Yeah.
nobody could understand what I was talking about, and they're like, "You're fucking crazy." And I finally saw it on like a Watch Mojo like top 10 video. They just had a little clip from it. I was like, that's the fucking movie I've been talking about for years.
The Langoliers. But yeah, it's just a good example of like it's not like some big huge revolution thing, but it does sort of it tickles my imagination just enough that I have to give it a little credit for being slightly more than just Monday pounding someone in the ass. And same thing, I think we said like Tuesday, pretty much the story, Wednesday. Thursday had kind of a unique moment where Thursday is talking about what it's like to be a day, and he and the guy have a competition to see who can be a day better. And the guy like tries to become a day. Do you remember what I'm talking about? Or
Yeah,
were you skipping?
I just thought, I thought you were just gonna keep going. Yeah, I remember what you're talking about. It was I mean, just the whole fucking concept of these, like, it's hard enough to wrap your head around like a physical manifestation of the day, but then yeah, you get to Thursday and he's just like, nah, just try. You got to be omnipresent and just be everywhere while being here. Just
imagine yourself in between Monday and Wednesday, physically manifest. And he's like, I could feel my DNA unraveling and time flowing through me. Like, it's one of those things where it's like, despite how goofy it is, it did manage to have this sort of like whimsical element to it that for a split second I was like, I kind of want to see a story where he succeeds. Where someone becomes a new day and how that would like change reality. Like, how would the world react? How would he react? What if he can't come back to being a normal person and he's like trapped as a day?
Yeah, he's just like, what was it supposed to be, like Glarg Day or something?
Everyone has the weirdest fucking names in these books. Sometimes they don't. Rito. His name's Rito.
Yeah, it was like Rito Day, I think.
It's like, well, I'm a man. I'm Rito, so maybe Rito Day. How original. What really kind of struck me too is that like when the days introduce themselves, it's like a title. Monday, just like, Monday is Monday. But at some point, what was it? Oh, here it is. Just a little reading, like, oh, hi, I blurt, putting out my hand towards the muscular 24-hour period. I'm Narlo. Tuesday, the sentient period of time replies, but my friends call me Ronk. It's like, I thought your name was... Why do the names have days? They specifically say that, like, the names have always existed, or the days have always existed since the dawn of time. Like, no one else has been them. But at the same time, they talk about how you can become a day, and they have names beyond what the days are, which kind of insinuates that maybe at some point they weren't Tuesday, they were Ronk, and then they became Tuesday. I'm thinking way too much into this.
Yes, I was just gonna say, I think you're going a little too far into the weeds on that, Joe. I think Chuck Tingle just wanted to get his rocks off while high on acid.
I don't know. It's just one of those things. Like, what? I guess it's just supposed to be a joke. I mean, I did chuckle the first time I heard it, but that's the weird thing is he does that like several of the other days. I marked them down just because, again, I wanted to be like, oh, Wednesday's actual name is Hargo Jorms.
Yeah,
Good to know.
I do remember seeing that. I was like, oh, okay, they have a name.
But and yeah, and then of course when you get to Sunday, that was the one I was going to mention too, because Sunday is unique, and he chooses to personify Sunday as being related to the church and everything. It starts with the main character attending a metal concert by the Void Crabs, and then Sunday is protesting the concert because in their world the Void is sort of like hell, I guess.
Yeah, that's how I took it.
They mention it, there is like books like explaining the lore of the Tingleverse, because there are like some key things that are the same. They talk about like the Void a couple times. I think in Space Raptor Butt Invasion, they're like, oh, you just go to the Void instead of go to hell.
Yeah.
And so it's like, yeah, the Sunday is protesting the Void Crabs for having a lewd name, but he doesn't worship God, he worships the great author who writes us all down, who's of course Chuck Tingle. And then they have this thing where the main character realizes he doesn't have a name because it hasn't been narrated yet. And they have to, again, I don't know, I've seen fourth wall breaking stuff before. Maybe it's just because I was so used to all the like boring stories, but then when that one hit, I was like, this is interesting. I wonder where he's going with this. I'm curious to know about the religion of the Tingleverse. I think the most interesting thing, too, is that he actually, like, the author obviously writes everyone, and he wrote Sunday is like, well, what should we do, oh great author? How should I stop the Void Crabs? And they're like, what?
What? The Void Crabs are awesome. Why would you boycott them?
They're like, well, they get people interested in the Void. Like, no, they just have a cool name. It's like, oh, okay. I wonder why he wrote Sunday to be that way. Well, I guess so they could meet and then get pounded in the butt or whatever. Something like that. I don't know. I don't want to delve too deeply in that because I already got a bunch of stuff written down. And I guess, yeah, when it comes to the days of the week, that was my main point, the thing I had explained to you earlier, that I came away from this kind of inspired a little bit by the fact that he was able to personify the days in the week. Because I would never have thought of that. Like, even with something like Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards, where they have fucking cards themed around everything, they have not made, like, a Monday through Sunday archetype. Because I didn't think you would be able to. But somehow he did. He did it very obviously by making the physical manifestations, but he also kind of did it more subtly because most of the days meet people who are similar to them. So, while Tuesday is literally Tuesday brought to life, the guy that he meets and falls in love with is like a person who just has subtle qualities that make him like Tuesday. And I was like, you could apply that to like a whole team of like superheroes or a team of characters in a movie. You could have them be all that, and like, that would be much more interesting than the same old shit we've seen like a million times. I don't know how many times I've seen the same 5-person team or 4-person team, or like, oh, it's themed after the elements, or oh, they're themed after animals.
I mean, you got the animals in Space Raptor Butt Trilogy.
I don't know, the Raptors don't really act like Raptors in any meaningful way. I think they were just there because he's turned on by Raptors.
Probably, because he did describe them physically, with the tiny claws and the everything. Although I had the T-Rex butt banging bonus story, so I had more dinosaur physical descriptors than you did.
I mean, it's weird because, like, I've This may be going a little bit too much information for some people, but I have read some erotic literature in my time. I'm somewhat of an aficionado, actually. But, like, I remember reading some, like, fan fiction, some erotic fiction that had, like, furry stuff in it. And furries always sort of, like, not all of them, but a lot of them kind of fixate on, like, the cocks being shaped like some sort of animal. They'll go into depth with that. But in this, they didn't. He was just sort of like, oh, he just has a dick.
An enormous dick. Every one of them was enormous.
Even the guy who had an average-sized dick.
Yeah, even the guy on Even Tuesday, where he makes a point to be like, oh, his dick was so average, just like everything else about him. And then 3 sentences later, oh, it's so enormous fitting inside me. I couldn't take it all. I was like, well, was it average or was it enormous? Like,
in his heart, it was enormous. But, yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like, he doesn't describe, like, the sexual parts of the dinosaurs, but he does describe them, yeah, like the tiny claws. And there was something where it's like, I feel like this is a trigger word to someone, where it's like, oh yeah, pound me with that Jurassic dick. Even though raptors are from the Cretaceous period, as we all know, and therefore that doesn't really fit.
Nerd.
I only know that because I looked up reviews of his work. And Space Raptor Butt Invasion was nominated for a Hugo Award. And there are a lot of people like, it's not even scientifically accurate. Everyone knows raptors are from the Cretaceous, and he calls them Jurassic twice. Yeah, speaking of which, though, okay, so first of all, I have to ask you, what did you think of the whole Space Raptor Butt trilogy in general? Because that one has a lot more substance to it than the 7 days.
I like that better than the calendar bangs me in the butt series that I had. That one, yeah, that actually had like an overall story, like that wove its way through. Like the 7 butt days was just like, I met Monday, then we fucked. I met Tuesday, then we fucked. I met Wednesday, then we fucked. The Space Raptor was just like, yeah, they fucked every chapter, but it was like there was a cohesive narrative to it. Like,
yeah,
you're on Mars or whatever planet they were on, and
they were terraforming another planet outside the galaxy.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if they ever named it.
I thought they did, but anyway, they're on some like alien planet, and then they meet the dinosaur, and then they become friends, and then they start fucking, and then it's just like they get back to Earth, and then they're gonna get ripped apart because laws and stupidity. And then the third one is like, let's go meet the other dinosaurs. And yeah, it's like there was a cohesive narrative through the sex. Like I felt that was a more well put together story than the calendar butts.
And again, there's a lot of nice like little details that are interesting. You know, Chuck is really good with like an economy of words. He knows how to like, with a few words, say a whole lot of stuff. Because he has like just like a almost very small line talking about there's these 2 astronauts, they're on this planet, and they're trying to terraform it because Earth is dying because of various ecological disasters and stuff like that. And they just make the whole plot takes place because one of the astronauts has to go back.
Yeah.
Because they can't afford to keep 2 of them there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, the Earth is literally dying, but it's not cost effective to have enough people doing this. There's like a little bit of message in like that one sentence.
Yeah. But then like the whole plot of the Butt trilogy was corporation that was funding the astronauts was behind the demise of the planet and the death of unicorns the whole time.
Yeah. They were harvesting unicorn tears. Like they showed the video. Yeah, I forget what they call it. It was like Scoundrels Inc. or something.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another thing where it's like, going with his, like I said, he's got this really good, like, grasp of word economy, where it's like he min-maxes for creativity and moving the plot forward, while completely, ignoring realism. So when he first meets Orion, the titular Space Raptor, he's like, oh, I'm from another planet. It's called Earth 2. It's where the raptors went. It's like Earth, but bigger. And it's like, that's so dumb. It's not realistic. It doesn't have anything interesting to it, but it's not supposed to be. All it's supposed to do is show you that there's another Earth-like planet out there. And by calling it Earth 2, as dumb as it is, you understand immediately. Like, he doesn't have to explain that it's like Earth. You just know it is because it's literally called Earth 2.
I don't know, to take a criticism from the Ables, in the words of Hardleg Joe, I would have preferred to know about like how the dinosaurs paid for their economy with love. Like how do they tax love? Are there tax brackets? Do some dinosaurs get taxed more heavily of love than the other dinosaurs? Yeah,
I would
just
like to
didn't
know
feel
how
like there
they're
was enough
love
world
powered.
building there. There was just not a lot. It just showed up, and then they were just love. Well, how do you get the love from the dinosaurs? Is there like a love pump? Or do you just like, how does that work?
The thing that annoyed me about the Ables was that they went into a lot of detail about how the society was set up and then ignored key details about it, like, okay, we know how the superheroes have all this infrastructure, how do they fund it? With the dinosaurs, the point is it runs on love. That's all you need to know. Everything else doesn't matter, and that's why he just skips past it. He doesn't try to explain how the love pumps work. He doesn't try to explain how, like, oh, well, we've got this huge advanced thing. Let me explain how our civilization works. They're just like, no, our weapons are powered by love. Isn't it great? Anyway, let me introduce you to the president. That's what I talk about with, like, word economy. He knows when, like, the Ables could have made me not think about the taxes and stuff if they hadn't spent so long talking about the giant school and all the different amenities and all the different things it had that didn't have anything to do with the story, but that he just wanted to, like, try to flesh out the world with. Chuck doesn't flesh out the world. He just tells you exactly, he's like, oh, there's a bad company. They're called Scoundrels, Inc. You know that because they're bad. How bad are you? Here's a video. They're literally torturing unicorns. Like, that's all you need to know. But, so the curious thing about all this, though, actually ties back to Chuck Tingle winning not winning, but being nominated for the Hugo Award. Have you looked into that at all?
I did, yes.
Okay, so you're aware, like, why he got nominated. Because there's nothing really in this book worth nominating for a Hugo Award.
Yeah, but it was like a massive, like, fan campaign or something, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't a fan campaign. It was actually a group of sort of far-right authors, and just... I'm not sure if they're far-right, but they're anti-SJW.
Yeah.
They didn't like the idea that there were stories in science fiction that were winning awards that featured, like, women and people of color. They thought there was too much representation going on in science fiction. So they boycotted the Hugo Awards. Or not boycotted, they basically trolled them. Because the Hugo Awards are actually tied to a specific science fiction convention, where you go there and anyone who attends can vote on what gets nominated. And by voting as a block together, they were able to basically get, like, nothing but garbage nominated. Nothing won Hugo Awards that year. And one of the things they nominated was Space Raptor Butt Invasion. Just basically is like a fuck you to the Hugo Awards. That's why Space Raptor Butt Redemption, the second one, talks so much about, like, trying to defend his work as a work of science fiction, and people being like, well, the only reason people even know you're out in space is because Scoundrels Inc. is talking about you. It's sort of meant to be a response to that, which I didn't even know at the time. But that also explains the guy who led the movement. I don't know his full name, but it's Vox something, which is the name of the bad guy in the final book, the leader of Scoundrels Inc. And the movement to troll the Hugo Awards was a movement called Rabid Puppies, which is why he unleashes a whole bunch of rabid dogs onto the dinosaur planet when he's trying to invade it. It's like, oh. And then he has that I guess that was why I looked it up. He has that conversation at the end where it's like, I feel like he's criticizing someone specifically, but I don't know who it is. But yeah, it was that guy. There's a whole interesting story about it. And it's interesting to see sort of how he deals with it. I think that's what makes the Raptor trilogy work so much better as a narrative, but also what makes the courtroom, the second story, so interesting, because it's basically him defending his own work as valid points of science fiction against a lawyer he's like, you can't be gay and have raptors in space. Space is serious. if people don't think of space seriously, we'll never have anyone going out in space. He's like, you could just have fun with stuff though, right? You could just have love, maybe. But yeah, sorry about that tangent. We're not really talking about the books, just something kind of interesting, a little bit of trivia. Again, there's not a whole lot to talk about here because these are pretty not substantial, but we do have a couple viewer questions. If you're unfamiliar, this podcast is sponsored by the Hardleg Patreon. If you join for just $1, you can get on, and then not only will you know what books we're reading, but I sometimes discuss them ahead of time, and of course I ask people for questions and discussion topics of their own. And we got a couple. First, we have Frankly, who asks, which day of the week do you find most relatable, and which one would you date if you had the choice? I'll throw it over to you, Bardbreaker, since I've been ranting.
Oh, no. Question. Hi, Frankly. It's great to hear from you, buddy. Unfortunately, I have a prepared statement for just such an occasion.
Did you really not have any day that like stuck out to you? Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's because like I feel really not extraordinary, but Tuesday kind of really stuck out to me.
Yeah, like I don't know. It was hard for me to wrap my head around a day of the week in physical form. It's just the concept was just very like out there, so I didn't bond with like the days of the week. Certainly not as much as the characters in the books bonded with them.
Yeah. But you didn't even you had trouble seeing them even as characters?
I don't know. I was just they didn't really develop the characters, but they were just like, and over there I saw Tuesday, or like over there I saw, Thursday. He was a glowing blue hunk of a day with abs.
Hey, they glow yellow, all right.
And then, I just couldn't wait to see his cock. And
everything always starts out like non-sexual. They're always just like, oh, he has a charming smile.
And I'm in a totally not gay way, but the more I looked at him standing there at the bar. What is the obsession with chocolate milk, by the way?
It's weird because like they go to bars, they have beer. It's just most of the time, most of the characters buy chocolate milk instead.
Like, I guess he really likes his chocolate milk, because that was not to distract from Frankly's question. That was just like, in the moment there I talked about the bar, I remembered all they drank was chocolate milk, and like every story.
Yeah, they're always like at a party and like they're walking around with like a shot glass of chocolate milk or like a martini glass of chocolate milk or something.
Which, I mean, I'm not opposed to that. Like that is probably the thing I identify most with the books. Is like the
I too like chocolate milk. Or what was it? I think it was Friday. Takes place at a college because Friday, of course, parties all the time, and they had a chocolate milk keg.
Yeah. So we gotta get Bootleg Drew in on that and ask him the feasibility of kegging up chocolate milk.
I don't know. I like chocolate milk, but I don't think a keg. I'd probably throw up after a little while, which I guess would make it no different from an alcohol keg.
It's true. The day of the week, most relatable. I sort of agree with you. Like I felt the description of Tuesday was pretty accurate and on par, where it's just kind of like, yeah, what is Tuesday most remarkable for? It's just kind of there.
Not being any of the other days. And It had sort of this message about like, you don't have to be a Monday or a Friday. Like sometimes just being there is an important part of life. Sometimes just filling in, doing your part.
Yeah, I would say that is probably the most flushed out day of the ones.
I thought Thursday was pretty good too, because it kind of had a similar vein, but it was more like, the idea of Thursday is basically that it's not quite Friday.
Yeah.
It's always second place. No one gets super excited about Thursday, but it's better than like Monday through Wednesday,
Yeah, so like Tuesday and Thursday were kind of the days I guess I would gravitate to more than the other ones.
Yeah, and it had the whole thing about the guy who meets Tuesday is a race car driver who always finishes second no matter how hard he tries. And they sort of realize, like, there is kind of like almost a touching moment at the end where they're at this party and, he feels like an outcast at first because he's like, I always come in second. Everyone just thinks of me as like a second place person. And then when he goes there with Thursday after they fuck, and they're like dancing or whatever, and he realizes like, no, people just see you as you. They don't care as much about you coming as second as you do. The important part is just that you race and you do your best, and that people like you for who you are. And it's especially like, maybe it's because we're both like YouTubers who have like channels that aren't huge but aren't like small. You know, it's kind of like you get that having a channel with like 1,000 subscribers or 2,000 subscribers is like being a Thursday. It's like, hey, I've succeeded more than most people, but I'm still not big.
True.
I'm never going to be a Friday or a Saturday or a Sunday. I'm always a Thursday channel. Again, though, I think it makes me wish I had more time to work on stuff, because I like this idea of like the Super Sentai team of the days of the week. Friday and Saturday are both like they're the leader types. Instead of having one Red Ranger, you have these two. Like, Saturday is clearly more powerful. Friday is a quicker thinker. It's always there first. They both have this rivalry. And then Sunday is not quite as powerful as either of them, but very calm, very collected, able to wrangle the weekend together and get things serious for the rest of the week. And then you have, like, Monday, who's this hard-ass, very stoic, kind of like scientist guy. He's all about work. He's about, we need to get this done. You gotta do it now. Tuesday's his, like, mousy associate. He's like, yeah, guys, I gotta do. He's maybe a little bit smarter than Monday, but he's not as forward about it. Monday hits you like a brick. Tuesday's just kind of there. Wednesday's the average guy. He's like, hey, you know, I'm part of the team. I'm doing good. I get along with everyone. And then Thursday is like the Lancer. He's like the Starscream, who like wants to be there with the weekend, part of the big group, but never quite good enough to compete with Friday. It's like there's this whole dynamic you could have. You wouldn't even have to like name them days of the week. You wouldn't have to tell anyone. You could just give them these traits and no one would ever guess. And then have like a council of 12 that's like the months of the year or something. There's so many ideas now that I want to do and I just don't have enough time in the day to write. But please, people, take these ideas and flesh them out. If you're a writer at all, like, find a way to, like, take these absurd premises and work them into something more mainstream, something more palatable to your average person. That's kind of what experimental media is about. They give you the ideas, and then you find a way to make them tenable. But, I digress. We got one more question. There's only two. Don't worry, you can go to sleep soon, Dan. The letter J asks, does Chuck come up with these ideas because he knows they will get attention, or does he just have really weird and creative fetishes? Is he a troll, or the ultimate conclusion to Rule 34? And we had talked about that a little bit earlier. Whether or not he's a troll, or he genuinely believes this stuff.
It could honestly be a bit of both.
Can't he be turned on by raptors and troll people with them?
I don't know. Like he writes the sex scenes like he doesn't know how sex works, but it could also be that he is just getting laid all the time and he's intentionally writing bad sex to like.
Well, I was just gonna say, as someone who has read like a lot of erotic fiction, most erotic fiction isn't written to be like realistic. It's like over exaggerated. It's trying to play on like. The physical sensations of things happening.
Was this so over exaggerated? Like a lot of it was just like there. It was just like,
I mean, we ended up skipping over it, and maybe we just become so. I feel like I've become so jaded to that kind of stuff that I'm like, yeah, he inserts his cock into his puckered asshole. They bounce. Fuck me, bastard. Yeah,
he said that phrase like almost every story, just puckered asshole.
Yeah, it's like an erotic story word. It's not something you would normally use.
Yeah,
it's something
like, I don't use that phrase in the bedroom ever.
Yeah. No one does. No one ever does. It's something that only gets used in like erotic fiction, essentially. Which again is like why I'm so. It seems so much like he's actually trying to turn people on, but if that's his goal, he's failing pretty miserably, I feel like. But I don't know, maybe. See, here's the thing. If someone was turned on by Chuck Tingle, do you think they would admit it? Like if someone was actually like waiting eagerly to download and masturbate to the next Chuck Tingle book, would they tell anyone?
I don't know. Comment in the comments.
I feel like we're gonna get a whole bunch of people just like, oh yeah, totally. I cannot. I just like I broke up with my girlfriend. Why do I need that when I have a Tingler?
when I can jack off to a T-Rex fucking a chemistry student or whatever it was in my bonus story. No, it was a janitor. It was the janitor.
Because I posted this in the Discord, I can actually play. This is from Chuck Tingle's YouTube channel. His complete guide to magic. I'm just gonna play the first 10 seconds so you can hear his voice, because I feel like this is kind of important.
Chuck Tingle's complete guide. Magic. The first thing old Chuck should probably point out is that the title of this guide is Magic.
You hear that voice, it's like, there's no way that's his real voice.
None, no chance.
That can't be genuine. But, what was it? When I was trying to look up more stuff about him, because there's almost, no information as far as I could tell, I found out that, are you familiar with, there's a YouTuber called H Bomber Guy?
You've shown me stuff of that before, I think.
Yeah, he does, half political videos, half gaming videos.
Was he the one that was just he was showing the clip of the guy in Florida saying, and do we really think with global warming, they're not just gonna sell their houses and move to get away from the ocean currents? And he breaks down the wall and he goes, sell them to who? Fucking Aquaman?
Yeah.
Is this the guy?
That's H Bomber Guy making fun of Ben Shapiro. Yeah, he has a lot. He did a video about speedrunning a while ago, sort of explaining the idea behind it and a little bit of the history and why he thinks it's so interesting. He spends a lot of the video talking about Donkey Kong 64 because the 100% speedrun for it is absurd. It takes 6 hours if you know what you're doing, and if you don't, it can take over 30 hours. And he's like, I'm going to speedrun this game from start to finish, and I'm going to do it as a charity live stream. Because some former comedian in Britain was saying all this bad stuff about trans people. He's like, I'm going to donate all the money to Mermaids, this pro-trans charity. And he started the stream. It went for 50 hours. And he had planned to generate $1,000.
Mm-hmm.
And he raised $200,000. And the people who made Donkey Kong 64 came onto his stream during it to talk to him. Adam Savage, the Mythbuster, he came on there. All these YouTubers Link Cara came on there. He had all these special guests, including AOC, the
nice.
U.S. senator, came on his stream to thank him for what he was doing to help trans rights. And among those, Chuck Tingle showed up. Which is this long story to be yes, somewhere in that 50-hour stream is about 10 minutes of Chuck Tingle talking about how you're doing such a good thing, buckaroo. You're making love real. I hope you realize that. And he talks exactly like that. But what was it? I do know he did an AMA on Reddit. Well, he didn't. His son did. John. And according to him, his father is a 65-year-old guy who has schizophrenia and I think is also autistic. But again, that's hard to say when he talks like that. Could he actually be? I don't want to make fun of an autistic guy if that's what he's doing, you know?
True.
But if he's not, if he's just pretending, but I don't know. Either way, I think we've said we've said more about Chuck Tingle than I think most people could ever imagine to.
I would concur with that.
Yeah. And I'm not sure if we'll want to do it again. I don't know. We'll see how this does. Our last April Fool's Day episode is still the most popular episode ever.
You're welcome.
So who knows? Maybe will this do better than Empress Teresa? Maybe we'll do Chuck Tingle every April or something. The least we could do is read the nice guy dinosaur doesn't pound me in the butt.
Maybe we'll make a new month, Joe, a 13th month. We'll call it Tingle-sember.
Tingle-sember. Tingleberry.
Tingleberry. Of course you'd come up with a better one.
You're welcome. I'm the Friday of this group.
We already knew that, Joe. You don't have to rub it in to us Tuesdays.
Oh, I have to rub it in. That's why they call me Hardleg, baby. spent my entire career not trying to make those jokes, and this is the one episode where I can.
Yeah, just let it all out, baby.
Just let it all out. Hardleg has been a dick reference the entire time. If I ever say otherwise, I shouldn't say that because it actually isn't. But a lot of people think it is. But either way, it's been interesting. Again, I don't regret having read this, but it'll be good to go back to normal books next month. In fact, we're going back to the hype train that is reading Wheel of Time. CB Radio will be back, and we'll be doing The Path of Daggers and Winter's Heart, the 8th and 9th books of the Wheel of Time, for those of you who are trying to keep up. So look forward to that. Either way, thank you for joining me, Mr. Bardbreaker.
It's been a pleasure as always.
If you like the sound of his voice, if you like some of the goofy things he said, he does have his own YouTube channel. Do you have your own URL yet?
Yeah, I've had it for a while. It's
okay.
You forgot to put it in the last video, like you said you would, but it's youtube.com/bardbreaker.
I will go correct that as soon as we're done here. But yeah, youtube.com/bardbreaker. I think you can probably find him now by just typing in Bardbreaker.
Yeah, that too. I just passed 2,000 subs, so maybe the algorithm will finally start liking me.
Originally I was thinking about how I would do the intro here, and I was going to give you a shout out right at the start, and then I realized you had more subs than me. So it's like, I don't think I'm going to get you a whole bunch, on this channel. So we'll see. Either way, if you like that, go ahead and check him out. He does Pokemon content. It's very nice. It's every Monday, right? Or every Monday?
Generally every Monday. That's the plan. It doesn't always happen, but that's the goal.
It's nice little relaxing content I watch before bed. Sort of soothing voice to go to sleep to. Unless you really know a lot about Pokemon. I don't. Maybe more people. Either way, check it content. Check it out. And join the Patreon and subscribe. Spread the podcast around. Spotify exists. This is on it. And until next time, love is real, baby.
But